Everybody has a list of the top characters from the minds that brought us such hits as Color TV Game 15 and Rob, the robot nobody ever asked for. The characters they want to see fight with the younger generation of heroes like Mr. Game & Watch, Mario, and Donkey Kong. And the less said about gaming zygotes like Olimar, Villager, and Wii Fit Trainer, the better. Today I'll give you the top 13 House of Hanafuda Cards characters I'd like to see smashed, but unfortunately probably won't. But first, honorable mention, kos-mos. Primarily because she would be a decent way of Nintendo reminding everybody they own the whole Xeno franchise, but it would be a purely marketing inclusion. Vaati is known as the Wind Mage. Originally a Minish who grew hungry for power and released an evil that one Link had sealed, presumably the Curse of Demise, which would mean he is responsible for releasing what would become Ganon. In the end, Link forged the Force Sword and sealed Vaati inside the blade. Ganon later released Vaati from his imprisonment, but ultimately both Vaati and Ganon were sealed together within the Force Sword. Take that, Master Sword. You may be able to hurt Demise's curse, but it'll come back. Force Sword will just seal him away for the rest of time. A Wind Mage could be very fun and unique to play as, and he would be a good foil to Toon Link as a potential fifth man. The reason he's so low is because I think he has one of the highest probabilities in the long run, even if not in the next game. But especially if DLC characters are a thing. Okay, I'm kind of a jerk for this one. No, I'm actually not. I'm just tired of reading, "Hi Samurai, please be sure to Goku im Anks tail our Licken and Kario suck. Ignorant Daggets gay for Limpk, Marop, and Ahmed." So deep in Nintendo's past, they have a little staff-wielding monkey named Goku, who a girl named Chao had to save. I want Sakurai to announce some April 1st that Goku is joining the fray, as a joke. Show the monkey and have everyone instantly fall in love with how absurd he is. Then have his popularity soar as he becomes a meme, and lo and behold, we have this totally unknown monkey as a fan favorite. And then maybe we can put an end to these illiterate Goku requests. No, but it'd be pretty hilarious, and that might make it bearable. Okay, Martha and Roy are cool. Ike is okay.
Now I'm angry. Your end has come!
I like Chrom, but please go with the Lord who is more unique. Ephraim or Irika, for example. Even Lucina would be refreshing as the first female Fire Emblem character in Smash Bros. However, Fire Emblem is a game with all of these different classes, and only one class has made it to Smash. Lords are always one of the most popular characters, but most games have several breakout characters who reach near the same level of popularity, or even exceed it. Marissa would be great. With her lightning-fast sword moves, I would so play as Marissa. A lightning-fast sword user would actually be pretty unique and fun, and Marissa was one of the most popular characters in her game. You also have Olivia. A dancer would make for a very interesting fighter. Tharja and Henry would also be refreshing as mages, specifically murderous and or psychopath mages. Then don't even get me started on why Tiki would be a great choice. Pico is a noble alien assassin from the F-Zero games. He pretty much oozes cool, and I think would complement Falcon well. While I wouldn't object to a large spike in F-Zero characters, Pico would likely end up being beat out by the likes of Goro or Black Shadow, and possibly Deathborn. So that is why I think he is unlikely. I was torn between Syrup and Young Cricket, because Young Cricket would fit very well in a fighting game, but Syrup would be a more off-the-wall and interesting character. Besides, I'd rather Wario take more from the Wario Land games than WarioWare. In all honesty, I think Syrup and Young Cricket don't stand a chance in the near future. I think Sakurai would probably go for Kat and Anna as a tag team first, and I'm not even convinced they would appear very soon. Of course, we haven't seen their assists, just like with Mac and Isaac. I mostly want this because I want another Yoshi character. Just one. They could also just get rid of the Yoshi universe. It always seemed odd given it's the universe Mario takes most freely from. I think these monkeys could be fun, but unexpected additions too. Otherwise you are primarily looking at either Shy Guys or baby characters, which could potentially turn out okay. If Isaac makes it, the other Golden Sun character I'd most like to see would probably be Alex. I also liked Sveta though, but Alex absorbed the Golden Sun, became immortal, and is the primary antagonist of the series. I can think of few villains that have caught my attention as much as he has. You truly feel abandoned and betrayed when you realize he was manipulating absolutely everybody, even his own sister Mia, and eventually son Amiti. Wait, Alex has a son? I mean, he abandoned him and probably did something to kill his mother. But that just makes me more curious about Alex.
If this is a joke, it ain't funny. We'll give them a warm Hans welcome. Acknowledged. Yeah! Ha! What are they trying to prove? I'm not throwing my life away. No point dying in some godforsaken field.
So maybe it doesn't help the game opens with Dunban. But man, he's a cool guy, and not kind of an archetype like Shulk. The problem is I have doubts 2 Xenoblade characters could make it on disc, if DLC actually ends up including characters anyway. I would be pleasantly shocked if Dunban beat out Shulk. Emphasis on shocked. More like flabbergasted, actually.
If you think the Homs, the people of Bionis, are just waiting here for you to pick us off, you are sorely mistaken.
It would be like cutting Mario and keeping Luigi, even though Luigi seems more popular with players. Also, he's yet another sword character, which probably doesn't do him any favors.
Or we could stay and fight.
Again, I prefer Yurik, Seren, Morania, and even Lowell more than Zale. I mean, all of the playable characters are extremely likable in the last story, but Zale and Dagran are the most generic looking of the bunch. Also again, Zale would be the first choice, but I kind of doubt this will get playable representation at all. Zale is again a sword and bow user. Yurik and Morania at least could use magic. Yurik also has the mysterious eye patch. This is a mixed chance. He was the main character in his game, but Heracles is still the star of Glory of Heracles. In this game, you wake as a boy who lost his memory and is found by Lukos, the immortal lost princess of Athens, who is pretending to be a boy. You also join up with 1/3 of Oceanus' soul, Heracles and Iphicles, and a fusion of the two, and the Greek goddess of discord. Let me just run through this plot briefly so you have some idea of what's going on. Most of your characters are mysteriously immortal and searching for why that is, so they form a club. You are actually the reincarnation of the fallen Icarus, who Daedalus revived using magic that has Zeus very testy. Lukos is unknowingly the lost princess of Athens. Then you meet a studly narcissist named Axios, who is actually 1/3 of Oceanus' soul. He also knows a sailor who is another third, and the last third is Agon, a recurring villain. Zeus betrayed and split Oceanus' soul, because he's a jerk. Read up on Greek mythology. At the end, Oceanus' soul is mostly reunited inside of Axios, and you encounter the wild body of Oceanus. You also encounter a bazillion people claiming to be Heracles, including yourself. You befriend Iphicles, Heracles' twin brother who died and Heracles revived along with you by sacrificing his own power. Ultimately, Iphicles sacrifices himself and is absorbed back into the real Heracles. The other Heracles is actually your father, Daedalus in disguise. Lastly, you meet Eris, who is a goddess straightforward, but she does rescue her husband, Prometheus. Maybe she should be the representative. As for you, when all is said and done, Zeus is actually nice and permits you to live on as an abomination. Icarus would be a cool character. Really, any of those characters would be cool to see. If Palutena is playable, the chances of another Kid Icarus character will decrease. It's a shame with how nice Medusa's redesign is, and even if she was just a puppet this time, she still once was the boss. Smash can always do with more villains too, especially monster women villains. There's a distinct shortage. I wouldn't want Kid Icarus to get overrepresentative like Pokemon and Mario, at least not with so few games. I know Viridian would be cool, and so would Hades, and the list goes on. Be patient though. These are now sacralized babies. They'll eventually get fleshed out more and be better fighters later on. If you want an obscure Nintendo character, look no further. On the Super Nintendo, there was this game released in 1994 called Uniracers. It was Nintendo's attempt to show up Sonic. Quite literally, Nintendo's answer to Sega's answer to Mario. The game featured unicycles racing along side-scrolling tracks and included a deep trick system. As well as a sensor that told you you couldn't name a unicycle Sonic or Sega because these names weren't cool enough. At this time, Pixar believed any unicycle was now their intellectual property and demanded Nintendo stop production. The game sold very poorly due to the limited production, although it sold very well by ratio of games to purchases. I happened to end up receiving this game as a gift and never sold it because it was actually incredibly fun. I suppose Pixar could try to stop them again if they tried to include Uniracer, but I'm kind of doubting it would end the same way. However, why would Nintendo just randomly include Uniracer after having a limited production? They probably still believe nobody ever played or cared about Uniracers. So even though the tricks would be plenty to draw moves from, Uniracer probably won't ever join the fight and represent its cult classic. Ever since Nintendogs was created, I've wanted to see a puppy take on tough characters like Bowser and Ganondorf. It'd be hilarious to dominate Bowser with a tiny adorable puppy that looks like it would cower in fear of Bowser. Mechanically, it could work easily given how many tricks and toys the Nintendogs could use. Unlike Rob, I don't think this would ever get old. It looks unlikely for the next game though, unless a dog being in play is what switches the Nintendogs out for Nintendcats, similar to Alfonso's switching out when Link isn't in play. The biggest reason this is unlikely though, is all the fault of fricking PETA. I can already see PETA claiming Smash Brothers teaches toddlers to abuse puppies and will lead to a generation that all torture puppies. But that only makes me want Nintendogs more. I want PETA to say one more idiotic thing to justify gamers to take them on once and for all. Even the most radical feminist organizations haven't said Peach and Zelda being fighters encourages gamers to carry out abusive fantasies in and out of the game. Now that we've covered this, let's talk about the top third-party characters next time and continue this Top X miniseries.